Good afternoon, everyone. This is a recording of our finger gym session that Jill and I ran this week for our Tremendous Tuesday. So, what is finger gym? So, finger gym are simple activities. They're designed to strengthen the young children's hand muscles and improve their grip. They're essential practice for developing good writing and fine motor skills. There's lots of activities you might do around your house already with resources that you have at home that are really good for the finger gym. So, what are the benefits of finger gym? It promotes fine motor skills, hand-eye coordination and control. And by improving our fine motor skills, children really develop the independence in day-to-day tasks such as buttoning their coats, opening packets, just doing things as they developmentally can. Children develop their skills that they'll eventually need for handwriting. So we don't really want our children to be using pens and pencils when they're so small. We want them to do lots of these activities beforehand to develop those muscles. You probably know that when you've been writing for a while, your hands get tired and it does require quite a lot of strength. Also, you need to be sure that your child is doing lots of what's called gross motor activities, big movements, making all those shapes with their whole body before they start using a pen, pencil on paper. Okay, making lots of circles and spinning around and doing things and using their shoulders, using their whole arm before they move down to using their wrists. Lots of these activities are highly adaptable, so you can start off quite simply with some with the activities that we'll show you, and then you can tweak them to make them a bit more challenging for your child. It's really good for encouraging communication and language skills. You can really talk to your child about what they're doing, and they can explain to you what they would like to do, how you can adjust it. Lots of positional language in there. We're threading this through the hole, we're pegging this onto a bowl, and we'll get to that. So if you change these activities regularly, adapt them, they're quite fun for the children and they can persevere and they can really become resilient. So some things will be really tricky. So things I'll show you, you'll be surprised at how tricky they might find them at first, but the more that they do them and explore them, they'll be quite happy that they're successful in these tasks. So going back to using a pencil, that's something, we all want our children to be successful in reading and writing as they go into school. And we need to think about those steps before that. So just an illustration here, so you can see how children might hold a pencil initially. So before you worry that they're not holding it correctly and maybe encouraging them to hold it how we as adults would hold it, here are some typical development grasps that children have before they have developed those skills and the strength in their hand to use it in a tripod grasp. There's actually probably a lot more types of grasps than this before that children use. These are the typical ones. If there's anything you were worried about with how your child might be holding a mark making tool, then just come and speak to us. I'm sure we can support you and we can support them in starting to move their hands and holding it in a way that might be easier for them. So how can I support my child at home? So you can use lots of everyday items that you have at home. This is what we try to look at here. I think the most exciting thing that you might not have at home could be a tennis ball, but they're quite easy to find. So having fun with pegs. So, opening a peg really helps children develop their muscles in their finger and thumb. Okay, so encouraging them to open the peg for as long as possible will help really build resistance, which is important for developing their skills for handwriting. And as they get older and more competent, you can keep them interested. It's really good practice to do. And actually, if you have a go at pressing the peg, there is a lot that they need to do, and using their fingers it can be quite challenging, so that could be something that's hard at first. You can use coloured pegs to create patterns. You can also find wooden pegs that you can get very cheaply in the pound shop. You can get quite a lot. You can maybe number them, letter them, and that can be something they start using even as they move into reception. They can start using them to order numbers. They can start using them to start finding initial sounds, making simple CVC words, but that's later on. Initially, you want them just to be using those pegs to develop that strength. So lots of resources you'll probably have in your kitchen. So here you can see we've got a colander, we've also got like a utensil holder, and they're a really good way to introduce threading. You can make it more challenging. As you can see on the right, there is a utensil holder which has quite big holes, so we've used straws to put in there. And then on the left, you can see there's a colander there, and we're using some fine spaghetti. So actually, it gets a bit trickier. So imagine if they're holding that spaghetti, and also the spaghetti, the dry spaghetti is quite easy to snap. So they've got to be quite delicate with it, but they've also got to be really concentrating and looking where they insert that into the hole. You can vary it by buying some pipe cleaners. You know, you can make some nice patterns and start weaving that through. And you can also extend this activity by doing what we've got on the next page, so you can continue. So if they've had fun really threading these on, you could continue. So you could continue with putting little objects such as pasta or, you know, cereal, threading them onto the spaghetti. Here we've taken a regular washing up sponge and we've inserted, on the left you can see there's some spaghetti that's been put in. In the middle there's a kebab skewer, so it's got a point, so it's quite easy to get that into the sponge. And then on the right side, because we've made it a bit chunkier, we've put a straw on top too, so the hole is a bit bigger and it might be easier for them to use. You could colour your pasta, you could make some patterns, and then once they feel competent in this, and you know, because the sticks are very rigid, so they can really concentrate on threading that item on, it can become a bit more challenging where they have to use two hands and they start using laces to then, they've got to hold the lace and they've got to hold the pasta and they've got to thread it through, and that takes a lot of concentration. So that's a nice way to then develop that skill. Here we have our hungry monster. So Jill here has cut a hole to create a mouth with a tennis ball. And what you have to do here, you have to use your whole hand to squeeze that tennis ball. Okay, and that can be quite tricky. So you can adapt this. So initially it might be really hard to open the mouth very wide. So you could use very small items to put in the mouth to feed that monster. And then as they get stronger, you can use bigger items here. We've got little counting toys and little Unifix. But you could use beads, you could use Lego, that they could feed the monster. So, and then obviously they have to squeeze harder to get the mouth open wide. That was it really. So there's lots of activities there. And if you want some more ideas, you can feel free to come and ask us. And we're happy to suggest some for you. Next week, we are not having a Tremendous Tuesday. However, we are having our winter celebration, which we are hosting via Zoom. We're doing separate sessions for the under 3s and over 3s. But the session is only for parents. We have sent the link out in an email yesterday. So please see that email. If you have any trouble, please call us and we will provide the link for you. And this session is only for parents. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.